The Trip. Chapter 1. Ethan. Midtown, the way people who hate it imagine it. Gray glass and checked wool, and people walking fast but not getting anywhere faster. Ethan stood inside the private lobby of the barren gray building, scanning the Times headlines on his phone. Not because he cared about the front-page crisis, he already knew it was some bureaucratic sideshow about the comptroller's office, but because it gave him something to look at while ignoring the two associates waiting awkwardly by the elevators. They were talking too loud, probably on purpose. He didn't acknowledge them, they'd figure it out. The elevator doors slid open. He stepped in alone. 31st floor. The ride was smooth, carpeted, silent. The brushed metal panels caught his reflection in a dozen fragmented planes. Hair, neatly styled with subtle volume, no visible part, timeless and deliberate. Navy suit, double-vented, light shoulder padding. Shoes, black cap-toe Oxfords, polished to a finish just short of vain. Hands, empty. The receptionist gave him a tight nod and gestured toward the corner hallway. He didn't break stride. Inside his office, everything was arranged with unconscious precision. Leather blotter, 3 fountain pens aligned east-west, the Penfolds legal pad with a silver paperweight, and a bottle of Tylenol turned label out. He set his phone down screen first. Logged in. 47 emails. Most were noise, deals half dead or half begging. Litigation requests, press statements that someone thought needed his review, which they didn't. One message from Julian, subject line, "Weird noise uptown." No text, no attachment, just that. He clicked it, stared at the blank body for a second, then minimized it and opened the docket for the Carlson/Millard merger. The phone rang once. He let it. He preferred to make the calls. By 9:10, he'd rewritten a clause on executive retention bonuses that would save their client $6.2 million in post-acquisition exit packages and piss off at least one ex-brother-in-law of the CFO. Ethan considered this a net win. At 9:17, a junior walked in carrying the latest draft like it might be radioactive. "She's asking about 6.4 again," the junior said. Kid looked Columbia. Ty was wrong. Ethan didn't look up. "She who?" "Carla, from the other side." "You say her name like she's your barista." The kid blinked. "Should I tell her you'll get back to her?" "No," Ethan said. "You'll tell her 6.4 stays in. Then you'll say you checked with me, even if you didn't. And then you'll CC me so I know you didn't screw it up." "Yes, got it." "And cut the footnote in section 11. We're not teaching a seminar here." The kid nodded, backed out. Ethan flipped open the notepad and underlined a sentence he'd already underlined twice. By 11:45, the inbox had stopped pretending to matter. He closed the docket, slipped the legal pad into his briefcase, and told no one he was stepping out. He walked west toward Grand Central. The air was crisp, dry, not rain, but close enough to make people clutch their coats tighter and walk just a little faster. Inside Grand Central, warmth filtered light the vast, indifferent curve of the ceiling. He paused long enough to check his phone, watched the minute hand pass noon, then ducked into the oyster bar and took a stool near the far wall, where the curve of the arch dampened the noise just enough to feel almost alone. He ordered chowder, oysters, a glass of white. At 12:20, Julian appeared, wind-blown and out of breath, shrugging off a coat that looked better than it fit. "You're early," he said, sitting. "You're late," Ethan said. Julian waved to the waiter without looking. "You heard about the 57th? Ethan sipped his wine. "Which part?" "East of 6th. Landmark building. Asheville Capital's sniffing." "Asheville Capital's always sniffing." Julian leaned in. "This one's real. They're calling it restoration adjacent. You know what that means. Means they'll gut the thing and leave a decorative arch." Julian grinned. Still cynical. Still right. They talked for 12 minutes. Julian left first, muttering about a call with development, then a lunch uptown with some real estate donor who thought she was Jackie O. Ethan stayed. He finished the wine, ordered a coffee, sat still long enough to notice that the woman 3 stools down hadn't touched her salad, just pushed it around while scrolling a dating app with mechanical boredom. Returning to the office, Ethan avoided the elevators by walking up the final 4 floors. He told himself it was for exercise. Really, he just wanted 5 minutes of silence that didn't come through a screen. He took a different staircase, the one near legal ops, ran into no one. Back at his desk, there was a new folder labeled Conflict Check, Urgent, and a red envelope icon blinking next to an internal notice titled Baron Gray Partner Compliance, Client Visibility Update. He ignored both. Instead, he opened the Julian email again, still blank, but the subject, Weird Noise Uptown, was now loaded with context. 57th Street, Restoration, Asheville Capital, the usual rumor cocktail. He typed nothing, closed the email, logged out. He would deal with it tomorrow. The afternoon passed in stutters, not in clean blocks, but in fragments. A compliance ping, a call about a founder who refused to remove a clause he didn't understand, a Slack from a partner in LA asking if Ethan had any capacity this week, which was partner code for, "Can you quietly fix this thing without billing too much?" Ethan didn't answer right away. He muted the Slack, flagged the email, and went back to his pad. Drew a rectangle, wrote 3 names inside it, drew a circle around the rectangle and labeled it Ghost Owners, then crossed it out. Too paranoid. At 6:03, he shut down his screen and walked out without saying goodbye to anyone. Not out of coldness, just habit. The city outside was still gray, still moving. The kind of cold that feels like it's been around since morning, even though the forecast says otherwise. Park Avenue always looked better in low light. He stopped at a bodega 2 blocks from the 4-5, bought a bottle of red and a copy of the New York Review of Books. The cashier didn't make eye contact. Ethan didn't mind. The subway was crowded but quiet, the way it sometimes is when everyone's too tired to perform annoyance. He held the rail with one hand and flipped through the review with the other. Headlines: The Architect's Miscalculation, The Crisis in Cultural Funding, Where the East River Ends and Memory Begins. He folded the paper and looked out the window, even though it was black glass. His own reflection stared back, older than he remembered, slightly hunched like he was bracing for something. He wondered how long he would live in New York. Then reminded himself he always wondered that around this time of year, right when the air starts pretending summer isn't over. Brooklyn Heights felt colder than Manhattan. Fewer people, more wind, trees without leaves. He lived on the 3rd floor of a pre-war building just off Montague. No doorman, no concierge, just a keypad and an old elevator that creaked too loudly to use at night. Inside, warmth, dim lamps, clean floors. The radiator hissed like it was settling a score. He kicked off his shoes, dropped his keys in the bowl by the door, and poured himself a glass of the wine. Didn't bother to let it breathe. 2 unread texts. One from Daniel, "How deep are you in Midtown this week?" One from Camille, "Back from Basel, I have opinions." He didn't reply. Not yet. He turned on the lamp by the bookshelf and sat in the armchair with the clean lines and the walnut arms. The one he'd ordered from a boutique store in Greenpoint after a woman he used to see told him she didn't trust people who bought furniture in sets. He hadn't seen her in 9 months, but the chair stayed. At 7:20, he boiled water, made pasta with olive oil and lemon and nothing else, ate it standing up. At 7:43, he turned on the Knicks game with the sound off and stood by the window with the wine in hand, looking out at the city like it might blink first. His phone buzzed again. Activity in the Colony group thread. He scrolled up. "Charlotte, are we all in?" Camille, "Don't make me regret it." Daniel, "As long as Ethan doesn't order for me again." Alice, "Just don't let Charlotte start another podcast at the table." He smiled. First time all day. He typed, "I'll be there, 6 sharp." He didn't wait for replies. He set the phone down, turned off the TV, and stood still again. In the quiet, the radiator let out a low groan like a closing statement. Outside, it was all shadow as the night pressed in. Brooklyn Heights always felt quieter than it should, like the city forgot about this pocket, or it chose to be forgotten. Ethan stood at the window with the lights off. From this angle, the river looked still, like it didn't move unless someone was watching. He hadn't answered Daniel. The text still blinked unread. He picked up his phone and read it again. "How deep are you in Midtown this week?" The tone was light, but the subtext was familiar. Daniel had always been the one to check in when Ethan disappeared into work mode, which was often. He did it without pity or urgency, just as a signal. "Still here, still seeing you." Ethan typed back, "Same depths as usual. See you Thursday." Then added, "Try not to interrogate anyone this time." A minute later, Daniel replied with a thumbs up and a grainy image of a beer in front of a laptop. Headline blurred. The kind of photo you only send to people who already know what you do. At 9:37, Ethan opened his laptop again. Not for work, just to scroll. A former colleague had posted a Medium piece about burnout. It had been shared by 4 people from Baron Gray. He didn't read it. A woman he once dated in September had posted vacation photos from Cartagena. New boyfriend, glossy light, same smile. Camille posted a photo from Basel, a modern installation piece, all light and shadow and existential caption. Ethan read it twice, unsure if it was about the piece or herself. He closed the laptop. Let the room be quiet again. Colony always came up on Thursdays. Assumed. They'd been going there since Charlotte moved to Greenpoint, before Camille took the new curatorial post, after Marcus closed the Series A but before he realized what came with it. Ethan couldn't remember whose idea it had been. Maybe Daniel. Maybe no one. With its low light and gold sconces, it was the kind of place that preferred understatement to design, with bartenders who remembered faces but never pushed. There was no stage, no dancing, no Instagram wall, just space and weight and mood. The kind of bar you could vanish into or pull someone close. At 10:04, Ethan poured the last of the wine. Outside, the street was empty. A single cab crawled by, yellow light leaking across the sidewalk like a fading promise. He stood in the kitchen for a while, one hand on the counter, not moving, not thinking exactly, just existing, in the way you do when there's nothing immediate to resist. His phone buzzed again, just a heart emoji from Camille, responding to his group thread message. He didn't reply. He didn't need to. He rinsed the glass, turned off the light, and walked down the hallway, the hardwood cold under bare feet. As he passed the open door to the second bedroom, still unused, he paused. There was a shadow on the floor from the streetlight, cutting across the far wall in clean lines. He stood there for a second, then kept walking. In bed, he lay on his back, with one arm folded behind his head. The street sounds drifted in, a distant train, the metallic snap of scaffolding in the wind, laughter from someone drunk and free on Henry Street. He let his eyes close, tried not to rehearse the day. Thursday would come, eventually. Most, or all, would show up. Some of them late, some of them pretending it wasn't a ritual. They would sit in that corner booth like they always did, order things they'd ordered before, tell stories with new edits, try not to talk about the things that hurt too much to name. And for a while, maybe for 2 drinks or 3, the city would soften, the pulse would slow, and it would feel like something held.